buy stock in gun manufacturers. Churches need a seat at the table.
This may not be the best way to get to the table.
The American Religious Town Hall meeting is now in session.
Welcome, friends, to the American Religious Town Hall meeting, where the discussion of religious, political, and social issues is meant to promote the cause of religious freedom and to help us better understand each other. And now, here's your host and moderator, Pastor Jerry Lutz.
Thank you. We are delighted you have joined today's program. So glad that you've tuned in. You're going to be meeting the panelists in just a few moments, but I want to say a special welcome to those of you who might not be regular viewers. We're glad you've come perhaps for the first time. We hope this is the first time of many to come. For this program, I'd like for you to meet the panelists, and we're going to begin with the gentleman to my right, asking that each one tells who they are and a little bit about what they do in succession around the table. You're first.
I'm Tom Plumley. I'm the senior minister at First Christian Church in Fort Worth, Texas. We're a part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ.
I'm Bishop Michael Olson, and I serve as the Bishop of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Fort Worth, Texas.
My name is Tony Matthews, and I serve as senior pastor at North Garland Baptist Fellowship.
I'm Andrea Luxton. I'm president of Andrews University in Berrien Springs, Michigan, which is affiliated with the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Hi, I'm Carl Troval. I'm the Richard J. Dinda Professor of Lutheran Identity and Mission at Concordia University in Austin, Texas.
My name is Mel Robeck. I'm Senior Professor of Church History and Ecumenics and Special Assistant to the President for Ecumenical Relations at Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, California. I'm also an Assemblies of God minister.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here today. As you heard from the opening remarks from two of our panelists, this is going to be a very interesting discussion. Churches investing in gun manufacturers? Well, let's hear what the panel has to say about that. This has to do with the Episcopal Diocese of Western Massachusetts voting in December of 2018 to buy 200 shares of stock in American Outdoor Brands, the Springfield, Massachusetts-based parent company of Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson, as you probably know, is an American manufacturer of firearms, ammunition, and restraints. So why did the Diocese of Western Massachusetts buy 200 shares in a firearm, ammunition, and restraint corporation? The Bishop of Western Massachusetts, Bishop Douglas J. Fisher, in response to that question said this, and I quote, "So that we might have a voice at the table and work with some other church groups to see what we can do to lessen the public health crisis of gun violence. It's born out of frustration," close quote. The diocese is calling for universal background checks, smart gun technology that would stop a gun from working if in the hands of anyone but the owner. The diocese is following the lead of National Coalition of Catholic Nuns, who used the same approach earlier in 2018. So today I'm asking our panelists to discuss this issue with these three questions in mind. First of all, is it appropriate for churches or dioceses or any religious organization for that matter to buy stock in a firearm and ammunition company? Next question, what type of influence should religious groups have or not have in trying to influence the management and stockholders of Smith & Wesson? And then finally, do you agree or disagree with Bishop Fisher when he said the church needs to have a voice at the table? So that's something that I'd like for each of our panelists to consider here. Let's go back to those who helped to begin the program. Reverend Plumley, you're really advocating that churches should invest in gun companies and manufacturing?
Absolutely.
Right.
Not just manufacturers, but retailers as well. I really should have said should buy stock in the gun industry.
Yeah.
And I hope that anyone out there in TV land that knows me knows that I do not own any firearms. And barring some huge, massive change inside my brain, I never will. But I think that those of us who are concerned about gun violence need to have a seat at the table, and we find it very difficult to get a seat at the table. We march around at gun shows. We march around here and there. We write letters to the editor and so forth. But when you can, as a stockholder, sit down with the president of Smith & Wesson or the CEO of some other, maybe some sporting goods store that sells a lot of firearms, you can advocate for some things. You can get their ear in a way that you can't when you're just outside carrying signs and singing songs and shouting slogans. This is a strategy developed by the Interfaith Center for Corporate Responsibility, and multiple faith groups are planning to follow the lead of the Episcopal Diocese of Western Massachusetts and do just this. Several groups of Roman Catholic nuns have had a real good track record in sitting down with retailers and helping them to do things like increase the minimum age for purchase of a weapon, and to get the manufacturers to publicly disclose it's their efforts to limit gun violence. In other words, it just gives an opportunity to stay before those who are manufacturing and selling, to say, here's some things that we ought to also be concerned about.
Thank you. The man next to you doesn't agree entirely with that, according to his opening statement, unless you've changed your mind between then and now. But tell us more about your thoughts on this.
I disagree slightly. Well, probably not. Well, I disagree with my brother in this way. In 1971, an Episcopal bishop stood in front of the General Motors executives, and he presented a proposal for change. And so these types of acts with religious organizations becoming shareholders for the purpose of impacting, changing the way things are in society has been around for about over 45 years. And we still haven't had any change. And I think inherently there's something that addles me with a religious organization investing in a gun industry for the purpose of changing the way the gun industry do business. And they don't think it's a good investment. So why are you investing in it? To get a seat at the table? I think there's other ways to do it. The smart gun technology that the moderator mentioned in his comment, I think that is very flawed. I think it's the whole ideal of having a smart gun, and this is what they're advocating. I think that's going to fall flat. And in fact, the smart gun technology, the whole idea has been around for about 2 decades, and it is still in prototype form. But I think there's some assumptions that are challenging for those who want the smart gun technology. They are assuming that gun owners who are against the technology will still support the company. So these companies are pretty sharp. They're saying, well, listen, if we have people who are buying traditional guns, and then all of a sudden we have a huge organization or a whole diocese that's trying to get us to do the smart guns, people will pull out and they'll lose money. And then who's to say that a smart gun won't become stupid when a person is in danger? This smart gun technology is really, really problematic for me.
All right.
And that's what they're pushing for.
Okay, thank you very much. Bishop Olson, we were talking about nuns investing or advocating investing in, or religious groups investing in gun manufacturing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And then your other thoughts on the subject.
Well, I think it's both make my brothers make good points. I think if the intention and clear intention stated is to be transformative, that's first getting a seat at the table. But that always has to be looked at because, in a sense, when am I contributing to an evil more formally, if it's truly evil, you know? So, for example, where the sisters most noticeably took this approach was in the just paying of a just wage for those who were manufacturing baseballs and stitching, that they paid a just wage then to those workers, and they were able to do that. The question I have on this is that you're dealing with a market industry of with guns that is a free market and very unbridled in some ways, you know, just as the market is. And if you do this approach, you're going to maybe put one company out, but what effect are you going to have there when there are three more there? So it can only be one prong, I think, of it. I think sometimes too these are attractive options when they are part of a larger teaching, you know, as far as the justice and the dignity of the human person. I think, you know, I think we face it in another way in Catholic healthcare over the issue of sterilizations, contraception, and when we don't participate in that. But it's a challenge when the market is, with the Catholic player is the largest player in the market, or the only player in a smaller market. And so then the question comes up, you know, when people don't like our religious values, then it's not transformative in their mind. So you have to bring the message along with the action of why you're doing what you're doing.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Trovall,
Yeah.
what do Lutherans say about this?
Yeah, there's no Lutheran opinion of this.
Well, so what is your opinion? And what is your opinion of this then?
Yeah, it's more my opinion
All right.
than anything. Well, it's really interesting because you can either say, I'm not participating out of a moral conviction because I don't want gun violence, I want more safety controls around gun violence. Or you can say, I'm going to get involved because I care about shifting the culture of the corporation to help address the issue of gun violence. I mean, I think that the clear thing is gun violence is a problem. There's a lot of different ways to attack it. I mean, I guess on the surface, it's a free country. People can have the right to do it. Mike, you made a good point about, you know, if a company goes out of business because you change something and then they go out of business, and there are 3 other companies that are stepping up to do what the other one did. So I don't know how effective it is. I suppose it is effective in some ways. To me, I guess, the other thing would be whether, you know, a diocese or a congregation, whoever's investing the money, do you really want your tithes and you're giving your offerings to God in the plate? Do you want your offerings to go to this sort of issue? I mean, we could pick how many different social issues. How about the opioid crisis? Do we need to buy stocks in the opiate market? I mean, this could go on forever, and I think that'd be a misdirection of a lot of church funds that people give honestly to share the love of Christ.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Robeck.
Yes.
I can see you just can't wait to weigh in on this.
I'm not going to.
Yes.
I would just soon not be on this show. But the fact is,
well, we're glad you're here anyway.
Yeah. No, I really am. I'm very much opposed to weapons of any sort. I mean, I've said that on this show in previous sessions on different topics. But you know, I married into a gun family, and my father-in-law was a hunter along with my 2 brothers-in-law, and you know, that was a family tradition. They went out, they got their deer, or they got their birds, and they ate them. Mm-hmm. I don't have a real problem with that. What I have a problem with is people who own guns for sport. And, you know, I have 4 sons and 3 of them own guns. And in fact, I heard them talking this weekend. I was kind of shocked, actually, that California has a new law where you can go in and purchase ammunition, but you have to wait and have a background check and the whole thing just to get ammunition. So I'm thinking, well, That's a good thing. So I asked him, why in the world do you guys have guns? Why are you using these guns? Well, Dad, it's like your books, You spend all your time and money on books, We like to go out and shoot. It's just kind of fun, We have a lot of fun doing that. It's like going to a baseball game. Okay, I don't have a lot of trouble with that either. But we have a lot of trouble with people who do not want authority. They do not trust authority in this country. That's one of the huge reasons, I think. And right now, at this time, when you have authority figures at the top levels, the whole of Congress, the presidency, and everything else, there's a huge concern that I have about the possibility of revolution actually taking place. Second thing is the gang issue. I mean, they've got guns in the hands of all these kids, and they don't know how to use them, and they don't know what to use them for except to kill each other. And then the third one, of course, is the mentally ill. We have an issue there. By buying stock in a gun company, you're not really addressing any of those issues. You need to address the issues of poverty, economic development, education, whatever it takes, tighter controls on standards for mentally ill and so forth. I mean, I just think we're hitting it at the wrong angle.
All right, thank you for not wanting to be on the program. You had a great opinion here. And
I
you
had
expressed
an opinion
it. You had an
anyway.
opinion. You expressed it well. Thank you very much, Dr. Luxton.
Yeah, I must admit this one is a little bit of a foreign conversation to me. This is where I really feel like an immigrant. I don't get the U.S. situation with guns. I really don't. Coming from Europe, coming from England, where even the police typically don't carry guns. I mean, it's just a different frame, a different environment. But trying to put that aside, I think the problem is that even, we have a faith group here that is taking this action. But the trouble is, I don't think all faith groups, and even any one denomination, I doubt any of our groups have everyone feeling the same on this issue.
That's right.
It is not a denominational or faith issue. We have people on a wide spectrum of sides on this position. I think probably what we can coalesce around is the impact of gun violence in the society and the fact that that is a problem. I think everyone agrees that the impact is a problem. I personally agree with most everyone around the table that this particular approach is very unlikely to really have much success in changing anything. But I still think we probably do have a responsibility to kind of see where can we coalesce, what can we do, dealing with some of the results, or some of the causes of abuse of guns. Maybe that's where we need to begin. I don't know. Let's all just move to England now.
Well, thank you. And let's go over to Dr. Matthews. I think you had a response to this.
I agree with what Andrea's saying in part. I'm a gun owner. I love guns. I love shooting. It's a sport. It's a sport for me. Excuse me.
He gets all choked up.
It's a sport. It's a sport. It's a sport, and it's a great thing. And I think all of us will agree that the problem is people who are killing other people with guns. And this just doesn't seem to address that. It doesn't. And then also there's another concern with the smart gun technology. If smart gun technology is implemented, there's a concern out there that government will step in and require gun owners to abandon their traditional guns. And if I'm at home, or if I'm away from home and I have a gun, and my wife or my daughters are home, and the only thing available is a smart gun, and someone breaks in the house and that gun doesn't work, that doesn't seem too smart.
All right, thank you. By the way, we probably should acknowledge that gun ownership is a right. I think everyone understands that. We have that. But it's also a legitimate sport for most people. I mean, it's in the Olympics, featured in both the winter and the summer, and some people have objections to that as well. But just to acknowledge that that's what's going on here, at least in America.
It was
yes, Reverend
only
Plumlee.
with the latest Supreme Court that the Second Amendment was interpreted that way. We're not going to get into
that's fine.
Second Amendment arguments, but
No.
we can argue it is not a right.
Sure. Well, as moderator, I'm not here to argue with you, but that's where it is. But anyway.
Just one other problem that I think needs to be addressed that's attached to this And you know, in Texas we had the Sutherland Springs shooting, you know, and that is the response time is so long when you have an active shooter that law enforcement is often hampered, you know, to respond to these things. And I think we have to look at what is the real situation, first of all, in the current area for protection of people, while at the same time, you know, dealing with the issues of mental health and also poverty.
All right, thank you. That actually is all the time we have for this segment. There will be a summation in just a few moments, but there's an important announcement first. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Thank you, Pastor Lutz. We hope you are enjoying today's program. If you would like to learn more about the American Religious Town Hall, please visit our website at americanreligious.org. That's americanreligious.org. There you can read about the mission and history of the program, learn about the Town Hall estates, and view past programs by clicking the appropriate menu buttons. Each week, Pastor Lutz looks forward to receiving your letters. You may write to him at the address shown on your screen. Send your letters to Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. That's Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. Thank you for writing, and thank you for watching. And now, back to you, Pastor Lutz, and today's closing statements.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome back. I do hope that you'll drop us a line. If you have suggestions about a program, a topic, subject that you'd like for us to consider here at the Town Hall, I really look forward to hearing from you. You can also go to the website. You can find past programs there that are archived from years before. And then also let us know what you think about the programs themselves. We look forward to hearing from you. We're going to go to our summation statements now. Let's begin with Reverend Plumley.
Thank you. Shareholders groups and shareholders actions are a part of corporate life. And for religious organizations to have something to say to retailers of guns, to manufacturers of guns, that is a plausible way to begin to talk to the people who are doing those activities about how we might lower the incidence of gun violence in this country.
All right, thank you very much. And now Dr. Matthews.
And because we have so many religious organizations with people who are who want guns and who own guns, it would create a major problem if religious organizations continue to invest in guns for the purpose of getting rid of them. I just don't think it would work. There are other ways to get to the table, and I do believe all of us agree that we need to do something to stop the criminals from using these guns.
All right, and thank you. Dr. Trovall, your summation, please.
I'm not sure I want to be on this show either. But I think churches are free to make their decisions, and the consequences will play out as it will. I understand what's going on here. At the same time, if I were a parishioner, I'm not sure I'd be thrilled about my church using its money for this kind of purpose. I'd rather it go more directly into helping the causes of gun violence.
All right, thank you, Dr. Trovall. Dr. Robeck, your summation,
that's
please.
exactly where I am, that I would rather that the church spend its money on the causes and try to reach that. I also think it has a role to play in teaching people, not only about how one would go ahead and own a gun, if one can do that, or should do that, and how one would use that gun in any case. My problem, I think, is the fact that the people who are involved in these shootings are people who should never have had access. How that gets stopped, I do not know. I'm not sure that legislation will ever manage to pull that off.
All right, and thank you for your participation today. And now Dr. Luxton.
I agree that I don't think engaging in the corporate world in trying to make change is going to really affect or be very effective. There's another side that we haven't really talked about much, and that's the whole question of the mental instability. And I mean, I think one of the things that we are aware of through statistics is the significant rise that's happening in depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, suicide within society right now, particularly in the younger generations. That in itself can flip into putting people in a more dangerous situation when it comes to owning guns or using guns. So I think when it comes down to what our role is, I think something we can all coalesce around is what do we do as faith communities to try and work with this problem in our society. How can we support people more effectively? How can we support communities more effectively to help counter against some of the rises and problems that we're seeing in society that will move into gun violence, inappropriate use of guns?
Thank you, Dr. Luxon, for being here today. Bishop Olson, your summation, please.
I think the strategy that's been enacted in this case really needs to be evaluated on its effectiveness, its prophetic value and witness, and also if there's a strong hope for outcome that is clearly delineated, that has to justify being involved in something that this church itself considers to be fundamentally evil, prudential-like. So, and that the case of the sisters that bought stock in the baseball company that was not paying a just wage, they were clear in their intention that they wanted to pay a just wage, which was something that could be effectively done by a corporate management. I'm not so sure that this approach is going to have the same effect, since it also involves it doesn't address the market issues that are also involved. The desire for guns and for and playing on those folks who are unstable and should not be owning a gun. I think there has to be other prongs to address this issue as well.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for the great discussion today. I hope this was helpful to you as you've tuned in. It certainly is informative from week to week when we get together to hear the opinions and see the perspectives, see it from another point of view. And I think that is really the beauty, the genius of this program. As I said recently on a former program, this program's been on the air for over 6.5 decades. It's got a really long track record of having some great discussions around this table, and you've been a part of that. Now you're a part of the legacy as this program comes to a conclusion. And so thank you so very much. I do look forward to hear from you. If you'll drop us a line, let us know what you'd like to hear discussed, subjects, topics, whatever it is that you want to say about the town hall. And also, please check out the website concerning the town hall estates. For now, the charter of the American Religious Town Hall provides that Roman Catholics, Protestants, Jews, educators, and others may appear on this program and can declare their beliefs without hesitancy. And the rest of the members of the panel will uphold and guarantee that American right to all who will appear, irrespective of race or creed, so that the rest of the world can see that here in America we believe in civil and religious freedom, not only in theory, but in reality. And so now, friends, until next week at the same time and over this very same channel, the American Religious Town Hall meeting stands adjourned. And may the God of all of us bless all of you.